What's up, guys? So this video is going to go down one of two ways. It's either going to be received really well or it's going to be received really poorly. And when I say poorly, I mean really, really badly. I'm kind of bracing myself for the latter because what I'm going to talk about in this video and what I'm going to say is, number one, going to maybe piss off some creators here on this platform. And in doing so, I'm sure that fingers will get pointed and things will be said in disagreement. And look, if you're a creator who watches this, this isn't necessarily meant to be like a telling off or a chastisement. What I would like this video to essentially represent is a question of the power in the influence that we wield here on YouTube. I watched a video today which, for me, was misleading and prompted somebody to do something that they didn't need to do. And this alludes to what I was talking about in terms of the power and the influence that we have. Regardless of how we consider things to be in our heads, the reality is that people act upon what we say, do, and show them. And whilst many people will argue that it's not our responsibility or our fault for the actions that other people take, we are the catalysts for those actions. And I want to speak specifically to something that I have been noticing over the last couple of weeks. Now, look, COVID and pandemic has meant that a lot of channels, including mine, have absolutely exploded. Coming out of COVID, for a lot of channels, views have dropped drastically. And as a result of that, many creators may be feeling as though they need to create titles to allure views. And look, we all do this to a certain extent, right? I mean, we're all competing on keywords, and we're all doing keyword research. We spend a lot of time on that, right? Because we want to rank our videos for views, which I do. I completely get that. But I think, again, alluding back to the influence and the power that we wield, we need to be responsible in the video titles that we create and be mindful that people are going to act on what we say. The reason why I say this is because I watched a video the last couple of days where they were talking about an imminent market crash, do this. And when you watch the video, in my opinion, there wasn't really anything that really addressed why a market crash might be happening. Is this actually possible? What are the key things that you should be doing if you were investing? How does this affect you? It didn't really cover any of that. And when we got round to do this now, the creator simply just told them what they were going to do. Well, how does that actually benefit the viewer? Now, that for me in the content doesn't really mean much to me. I think my style is one thing and everybody has their own different styles. There's lots of us who do tremendous work here. I always talk about Jen at Mama Furfur. She was a huge inspiration for me starting this channel. You got people like Anna over at Panados, fantastic channel, does really, really good work. You got Paul Briscoe doing really, really good work. There are so many of us. Andy Weber over at Be Clever With Your Cash, fantastic work. But in the investment space, the reason why I'm making this video is because someone did act on that video. And this is what happened. So in the comment section, there was a comment from a viewer who said, I watched the first part of this video, sold everything, then realized I need to rebuy because I watched the rest of the video. Now, this is double-edged, right? Number one, you can say, well, the person should have waited until the end of the video to find out what the full context of the conversation was. Absolutely, I do agree with that. One of my pet peeves is that we spend so much time making these videos and we have to make them long form because context is important. And oftentimes, if you don't know the context, you don't really understand why you should do something or why you should not do something. A lot of us put a lot of energy and a lot of time creating these videos for consumption so that you get to understand as viewers what we're talking about and how, in what context, what we're talking about may or may not affect you. So yes, you can say that the person should have just waited and should have just not acted on a whim straight off the bat. But having said that, I have to go back to the point that I made at the beginning of this video, the influence that we wield as creators. Now, many people may assume that, selling down your investment portfolio is no big deal. Okay, well, for me, it is. Because number one, not only are you now out of the market, you've got to wait for the funds to actually settle. If the markets go up in the next 2-3 days, that's a bit of growth that you've lost out on. The growth isn't the big thing. The point is you didn't have to sell your portfolio. The second and bigger issue for me is that off the back of that first few minutes of the video, where it was doom and gloom, by the way, no sense of reality at the beginning of it, you've sold down a portfolio, and that could lead to capital gains charges because you've sold down your portfolio, depending on how much you've sold down. Now, many people may say that's not a big deal, but actually it is a big deal because that action didn't need to be taken in the first place. One of the key things that I talk about on my channel all the time, and I can only speak for myself in this, is keeping people informed and keeping people safe. If we make videos where we are sensationalizing a market crash and people are acting in a way that they shouldn't act, I think that's problematic. And look, if I look back over this will be my 199th video on YouTube. If I look back over all of my videos, am I saying that I've got absolutely every single one of them right? Absolutely not. I'm sure that if people look back over my catalog of videos, they can point the finger and say, well, Pete, you've done something very, very similar over the last 20 months of you being on YouTube. And that may be the case. But what I can tell you is it was not intentionally for the purpose of views and views only, because this is what I really feel what it's all about, because we all do research and we do rank for keywords, right? That is pertinent to our channel growth, pertinent to AdSense. And this is for where the viewers, I want to really get into how this really works, because I think that you are entitled to know. And you're entitled to know furthermore because the person whose video I watched last year made a video attacking a number of other YouTubers on this platform, saying that you shouldn't trust them because they do brand deals. And because he doesn't do a brand deal or doesn't allow brand deals on his channel, that he is really the only one that you should trust. And I think that that is problematic, disingenuous, and it's hypocrisy, because how do YouTubers make money? Last week, I shared with you what YouTube paid me for 1 million views. You can watch that video right here. This is the thumbnail for it. The reality is that AdSense for most YouTubers forms a part of their income. Depending on how you're set up on this channel, it can either form the majority or a little bit of your income. Now, for me, and again, I can only speak for me, but I know that this will be true for many other creators on this channel. The reason why they do brand deals, or at least the reason why I do brand deals, is that so that I'm not 100% solely reliant on views for revenue. And you may think that that's not necessarily relevant, but it is, and I'll tell you why. By doing brand deals, I only started doing brand deals at the beginning of this year. And the reason why I do brand deals is because it will allow me the space from a financial point of view, number one, to keep the channel moving, and also for me to be able to create content that isn't going to drive me to be in a position where I have to get the maximum amount of views possible. So I can create content like the conversations that I've had with Gary Stevenson over the last 3 weeks, where I can talk about the wealth divide, wealth creation, wealth inequality, things that don't rank at all when it comes to YouTube. Those videos are my worst performing videos on the channel, period. I do brand deals because it allows me to make videos about things that I want to make videos on, not necessarily videos that I then have to create a title and a thumbnail to clickbait to get you involved in that. And I think this is really, really important because for me, when I think about YouTube, yes, number one, I am doing this full time. And I've already alluded to this. Last week, I spoke about how I've also been able to monetize this channel other than just AdSense. I've got coaching classes that I also, use with people one-on-one, where I do holistic financial reviews or I do one-on-one coaching against a very specific investment or monetary goal. I have my course, which has been a good source of income for me over the past year or so. I have my podcast, which is a top 10 national podcast on Apple in its category. So that's an income source for me as well. I also do some consultancy work in financial services still. So I'm not solely reliant on AdSense as my main source of income when it comes to YouTube. And I think that's really, really important to understand, because the question you have to ask yourself when you're watching videos, guys, is what do you learn from this? And I'm going to say the exact same thing to creators. When we create a video, what are we teaching the viewers? How are we making their journey on this path to creating wealth better? How are we improving it? How are we moving them down the line? How are we sharing our experience and our knowledge to empower them? How are we doing that? Are we simply making videos just for views? And I know that it's important to channel growth. I know that. But are we putting views over actually helping people? Again, I know that a lot of people will be looking at this and thinking, well, you're saying that people talk about being holier than now. You're trying to be the same. I don't mean to be. I just think this needs to be addressed and it needs to be spoken about in an open forum. I think a lot of creators on here do phenomenal work, but also within this, you also have to appreciate that there are a lot of scammers. And I'm not saying that the creators that I'm talking about specifically are scammers, but there are lots of scammers out there who will impersonate us. As a viewer, you have to be careful. And I think if you're not learning anything from a video or you feel cheated by a video, you should say so. And I would say that even for any video that I create. If you feel cheated by any video that I create, tell me, because that will only help me be better on this channel. At the core of what I do, I want to help people. I think that a lot of creators come from the same space, come from the same place. But I think it's very, very dangerous when we start to weaponize topics like a market crash simply for views, knowing fully well that someone will act upon what we talk about in that video, and what they do, the actions that they take, could have a negative connotation. That's what I've witnessed. That's what I wanted to talk about. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section if you're a creator. Even as a viewer, I'd love to hear your thoughts. But I just have to ask, what are we doing this for? Why are we creating videos? Is it just for views, or are we actually trying to help people? Are we prioritizing views over helping people? And if that is the case, what's the point?